Yo, what's up guys? You got PokeaimMD here. Today we have a video about the 3 bans that just took place over this past weekend. 2 in UU and 1 in RU. So Gyarados Primarina got banned in the UU tier, whereas in RU Goodra got banned. So I'll be giving my thoughts on that. You guys can let me know your thoughts too. I have a cold. It's nothing else. It's just a cold. Only my nose is clogged, and then I guess well, this is kind of my morning voice anyway. But yeah, I have a cold. Hopefully I'm okay besides that, but I don't have a fever, I don't have anything else. So yeah, anyway, let's talk a little bit about the Gyarados and the Primarina ban. It's crazy because last generation Primarina was borderline broken, but 2 of the counters actually existed, being Blissey and Empoleon in the UU tier. So I mean, the tier without it, Primarina ended up getting banned, and we'll just go over what they say right here. So we'll actually look at Gyarados too. And it's funny because Gyarados was like I mean, this sentence says it right, but the former Dynamax Menace. It was incredible early generation in OU, just because Dynamax was busted for it. Max Airstream, I think in particular, is one of the most broken, if not the most broken, Dynamax move, or Max move, because it allows that speed. Gyarados could run Moxie, it could run Max Overgrowth that it got this generation, which is a huge thing at getting Power Whip. They kind of just gave everything Power Whip in close combat, except for, well, certain Pokemon, but and that gave it an ability to deal with bulky waters. Rotom, which was before considered a counter, which it still could be because Mega Gyarados was not in the tier. It could actually be, or it doesn't exist rather, it could actually deal with it because it resists the water and the flying coverage. It also resists the ground coverage, whereas Mega Gyarados could obviously Earthquake it with Mold Breaker. But yeah, so drops to you as of this month and has made a big splash in the tier. Okay, I see what you did there. Gyarados has so many tools at its disposal now. Its coverage options are incredible in this tier with over 5 viable moves to go along a Dragon Dance. Utility of heavy duty boots and extremely lacking in viable physically bulky Pokemon. Between Boots and Gyarados' newest move, Power Whip, it's very hard to handle. Power Whip allows Gyarados to nail every bulky water, as well as let Gyarados drop water coverage if the user so pleases, as it still hits ground types very hard. I think another thing that has to do with this is the fact that we don't have hidden power in the tier anymore. So even if you're using bulky waters like Vaporeon, or I guess Manectric to a lesser extent, but I'm thinking like DVP and back in the day, because Manectric, did I just say Manectric? Milotic, excuse me. Milotic to a lesser extent, like you don't have hidden power electric, so you can't just tech hidden power electric on those Pokemon or on your Bronzong. Like ways of dealing with it, if you actually look at the U tier, would be Scarf Flygon with Thunder Punch, which is also an old DPP classic, and like a lot of the Scarfers, that's about it. Gyarados is so bulky that a lot of Pokemon can't deal with it. Like Avalugg can eat hits and then doesn't do that much back, but then again, Avalanche still does a good chunk. But let's keep reading. Even with the departure of Auroravale from the tier, Gyarados is still, oh yeah, Auroravale got banned. I didn't make a video about that too, but it did get banned. Even with the departure of Auroravale from the tier, Gyarados is still the perfect setup sweeper. Well, actually, it was Ninetales that got banned, Galarian Ninetales, but also Auroravale. But no drawback stab, a multitude of good coverage options, and Moxie to further that snowballing. It is extremely difficult to handle Gyarados. The most reliable method being Scarf Rotom. Defensive options can't do much more than sit and hope Gyarados does not have the appropriate filler move, whether it's coverage of Taunt or Substitute. Offensive options cannot reliably switch into Gyarados and must outspeed after a Dragon Dance. In this case, obviously, Flygon is one that comes to mind, but Flygon doesn't appreciate taking a regular waterfall, do over half. Just to let you guys know, it's just at neutral. So you waterfall once, Flygon comes in, you waterfall the next time, Flygon has to think twice about coming in. Rotom, they mentioned Rotom because it could take at least the waterfall coming out, and it could take a balance too. All in all, why not? A unanimous decision from the council, 8-3 with 1 abstain. There is no doubt that Gyarados is the most threatening setup sweeper the tier has seen since Halucha was banned at the very start of the tier. So we actually go through a few more. Let me read Lily's because I showed a replay of her getting blown back before, so I might as well read what she has to say about this. Broken waters come in twos, I guess, except this one's not. This one's actually broken. There are no counters. You cannot name one. They do not exist. What Beast's Sting is decidedly purely by the fact that it doesn't have the move slot to fit all the coverage moves it wants. But that doesn't even matter because it also gets perfect coverage, just 3 moves and sweeps 4 turns, and no matter what you have in the back. I think this is even more broken than it was in the Veil meta, because at least then we had Freeze Dry to revenge kill, and we could get Veil up to allow Mon to take a hit, but now that's gone out the window. Flygon's are running Thunder Punch, Helios are being Scarf, Glycerpods are running Rock Slide. This isn't okay at all. It needs to go. It's too bulky, too fast, too strong. It has too much coverage to ever be allowed down here. Maybe post DLC, but I really doubt it. Please ban Gyarados. And again, she went on to talk about how certain Pokemon are running coverage, or like Helios is running Choice Scarf. Which is funny to me. But what do you guys think about Gyarados? I always thought that Gyarados would be one of those ones that would be too much to the tier. We have no Megas now. The Intimidate Pokemon in the tier is Incineroar, which can actually, you know, take a hit from Gyarados. Don't get me wrong, it can actually take a hit, but like the bulky grass types in the tier, Celebi, Decidueye, fall to bounce. The bulky waters, Milotic, as well as Vaporeon, don't appreciate Power Whip, and like they already mentioned with Gyarados, it doesn't have to run the perfect cover. It doesn't even have to run Waterfall if it doesn't want to. Like it can have good coverage, right? Like ground, water, and flying, for instance, can deal with everything besides Bronzong. Just to let you guys know, like this mon is, and of course it can have taunt as well. So that can aid in setup. So that's interesting. A lot of the options for Gyarados were just revenge killing on your team builder. If you had the right mon, and of course it's a revenge killing, it's a check, not a counter, because I already said the example. If for example Flygon tried to come hard in on Gyarados and Gyarados did not Dragon Dance, Gyarados stopped at a waterfall, you already got half off on Flygon, so you can later set up a sweep for that. So decided that Gyarados was too much for the tier. Now Primarina is crazy because, yeah, one of the most notable breakers from Sun and Moon UU returns, but this time there is no Blissey. Much like Gyarados, Primarina got a notable addition with this generation, Calm Mind. That's just the biggest thing, man. The fact that Primarina finally got Calm Mind. So it no longer, like Specs was already nasty back in the day, and you also had to use like workup sets. That was about it. But the fact that they have Calm Mind, so it can actually be a setup, I don't want to say sweeper because it's slow, but like a setup breaker. Although it's not quite as useful as Power Up on Gyarados, it bolsters Primarina's options. Primarina, quite frankly, was a guaranteed kill every time it entered the field against something unable to kill it in one shot, bar some obscene exceptions. Especially cannot be switched into. Non-specs creates immediate power for making it even harder to revenge kill. Of course, on the special side, you know, you get a boost that Toxtricity doesn't knock you out. Just to show you an example, right? Like you get a Spadef boost, Helios doesn't knock you out. And you have the option of switching up moves, whereas the Specs one is like, oh, okay, well, are they gonna go for Moonblast, or are they gonna go for Water move? I mean, you have a Vaporeon, they click Moonblast. Okay, well, I'll go out to Gigalith in the sand. Oh, I took still like 50%, but with Rock Stuff. But yeah, non-specs creates immediate power. I already read that comment. Makes it even harder for things like Celebi and Toxtricity to offensively check it. Of course, because you boost enough and you can just break through them. Between all of its options, it was quite frankly the most fearsome Pokemon to face off against. The decision to ban was unanimous from the council. All 12 people voted to ban it. Primarina really did not have viable countermeasures, unlike in Sun and Moon. Just comparing the two generations, there's no Blissey, Amoonguss, and Empoleon or Tentacruel, as well as offensive Pokemon that threaten Primarina, such as Scizor, no longer being within the tier. On top of the fact Primarina now gets Calm Mind, adding a whole new element to considering why taking it on. Ultimately, Primarina was banned because of the Choice Spec set, which simply had no viable counterplay. Now, what do you guys think about that? I mean, it's funny, you have a starter being a BO Knight. Now, I do want to say a few things real quick just to go back into this, because I live in New York, and if you guys didn't know, New York is kind of like off school for a month from now until April 20th, which is pretty crazy. My mom and dad still have to go over from Tuesday to Friday of this week, which I hope ends up not being the case, because I have to prepare stuff because everything's gonna be remote learning. So be safe, wash your hands. Because of all that stuff, I talked with Blunder, and I mean, part of we have this all. If part of the reason we did all this was because, or part of the reason I think this is important is because we're gonna get more BO Nights. And I talked with Blunder, I was like, yo, people are gonna be home. Why don't we just do BO Nights? We have about, what, 16, 17 of them right now. I can look at them real quick. I count them all real quick, but just to say it. So let me look at them. Just really quickly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we have 9 UU BO Nights. So 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. If you look at RUBL, that's 14. 15, 16, 17, 18. That's 18 BO Nights. So I told Blunder, hey, let's start BO Nights. People are going to be home. Give them something to watch. Hopefully it helps. It's not like, obviously it doesn't help you deal with anything and what's going on, but maybe it gives you some sort of comfort. So expect BO Nights sometime in the near future, within either the end of this month or early next month. We're going to do our best for that. I'll get Blender to come back, of course. Not that he's just taking a little break right now, but yeah, there's a lot going on. But I just wanted to let y'all know that. But yeah, Primarina, I already knew it was busted. There's no Napoleon, there's no Blissey, which are the big things. And even those weren't even like direct counters to it. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on the 2 water types being removed from the tier. In terms of what it actually does for the tier, I feel like, well, fire types like Arcanine and Incineroar is already really good, get better in my opinion, though there are still bulky waters like Vaporeon and Melodic, which in turn also get better with these Pokemon being gone because they don't have to switch into a Specs water move or a boosted Power Whip or anything like that. So while it does boost Incineroar, it also boosts the bulky waters. I think that Mamoswine gets even better. Like, Mamoswine is already a ridiculous Pokemon, but it gets even better. Like, I think the only counter to it in the tier is Avalugg. Like, just straight up counter. Like, you switch it to literally any move and take a second one after. Everything else gets to it KO'd or, like, by Choice Ban or doesn't care about Ice and Crash, right? Like, Bronzong gets knocked off, so Mamo gets better. But let me know your guys' thoughts on that. Now, Goodra. Goodra got banned from the RU tier. And I think a lot of this has to do with the fact that Gigalith moved up in the tier. Now, Gigalith wasn't a counter to Goodra, period. But at least with Sandstorm, it could take a hit and it could rest and you can have the bulkier waters. But Pokemon moved up. If you actually look at the RU tier, before we even read this, there's nothing that's faster than Goodra in the tier that can knock it out in one hit. Besides, like, I guess, Bandit, Cinccino. But yeah, Salgor, Barraskewda, Bolton, maybe. From that, you know, you have Ninetales. So Goodra has a really good, really good speed tier this generation at RU, and it was actually voted banned. So we'll read a little bit what they had to say. So Ajna, my boy Ajna, came back. I believe that Goodra is ban-worthy due to the combination of its lack of reliable check sex counters, its great defensive typing, and its speed tier. Yeah, that's a big thing. Like I said, Goodra has like a massive special defense stat. And, I mean, it has base 70 defense, but decent base 90 HP. The fact that Specs is incredibly hard to switch into. All you have to do is predict the Fairy type and go for Sludge Wave, and they don't even appreciate Fire Blast, depending. But Goodra effectively has no counters due to the sheer amount of moves it can run. My decision to ban Goodra almost completely omits the Bandit set, even though that set is definitely viable. Special Goodra alone is able to 2-hit KO every single one on the tier with the right coverage, bar Spinef Gastrodon, but can easily throw Power Whip on it if it really wanted to. Goodra can also find ample opportunities to come in throughout the game because of its pure Dragon typing and its great special defense, as it sits a very competitive base 80 speed tier. To long that read, Goodra is too much for the tier to handle. We'll keep reading a little bit more of them as well. This one I have to talk about Gigalith too. Banned with the recent tier shifts, Goodra finds itself in an incredibly position in the RU tier. Prior to the shifts, Gigalith, one of its best answers to the Specs and Scarf sets in that tier, was prolific in the tier. It was actually Gigalith was #1 in usage, if I'm not mistaken, in the RU tier before it went up to the UU tier. But with the shift, we lost by far the best check size counter to the Specs set. While we gained some Pokemon that Goodra doesn't really care for, the only additional check to Specs Goodra we received is Caparaja, Avius Fire, which is far less splashable than Gigalith. I found it essentially, and the thing about Gigalith too is like it was such a good answer to everything, like Salazzle too, which is another top 10 mod. I found it essentially forcing you to run specially defensive Silvally Fairy or Aromatisse plus Steel if you hope to be able to prevent it from getting a free kill every time it comes in, or something slower than it, or any special attacker without a stab super effective move. And none of the good defensive answers have recovery outside of Aromatisse. I guess Alcremie, because Alcremie versus Goodra matchup is not that great because you just Sludge Wave to a KO, and Alcremie doesn't do much back. The spec set is just too strong, too bulky, and adequately fast for the RU tier at this point in time, and that's neglecting the physical sets, which could be used to learn common checks for Goodra, and as Ajna mentioned, Power Whip for Gastrodon, for like Spinef Gastrodon and things like that. Alvarado put ban in bold, so I have to read it. This Pokemon has no real counter since it can easily abuse. Being able to only breathe through your mouth sucks. I got this the same way I always get it, man. I take a shower and I go out when it's cold. Or my head's wet, rather. This Pokemon has no real counter since it can easily abuse both his immense special and physical coverage. The special set itself also impossible to check since the move pool is crazy good. It makes every turn a guessing game for what moves the Goodra will click. Its special bulk is also extremely high. It also has immunity to grass, which is amazing for Goodra because of its Sap Sipper, allowing it to get in for free versus most of the special attackers of the tier. Sap Sipper, as I mentioned, also allows it to get in free versus most grass types. It makes the banned set even more threatening. Overall, Goodra has too much going for it. So I don't want to read too much about that, but they seem to be all saying the exact same thing. Special is just too much. Losing Gigalith was huge for it. And Goodra has that base 80 speed tier, which is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. It makes it, it makes it like obviously like the 1v1 situation, if Beware was faster than Goodra, it'd be able to Oko it with a banded close combat because Goodra's faster. It just specs Draco's or specs Fire Blast and locks out Beware. And then just the overall bulk allows it to just to take those hits from the faster Pokemon. The prominent ones like Ninetales, Salazzle. It can even eat a hit for a Whimsicott if it needs to. So Goodra was voted banned in the tier. And with that, I believe we have 18 BL Knights. So as I mentioned, there might be more. I might have just miscounted. But as I mentioned, this is really cool for at least content. And but I do definitely want to do something to at least try our best to give back. And, give you guys something, because I know a lot of people worry. We're not the only people that worry. I'm not necessarily worried about myself, but of course the family, the people who are older than 65 or 60 and stuff like that have a higher, death rate or whatever like that. I'm not trying to come here and say, oh man, be scared. No, be just smart, be prepared. That's it. But yeah, let me know your guys' thoughts on the wash your hands. Wash your hands for 30 seconds. Or at least 20 seconds, man. Just sing the Team Rocket intro. Everybody know the Team Rocket intro. Prepare for trouble. That's how you prepare for trouble. You wash your hands with soap and water. You make it double. You wash both hands. That's it. You gotta protect the world. To protect, they basically knew about the whole thing. So I'm just letting y'all know. Let me know your thoughts on these bans. I'll see y'all next time. I'll leave these threads down below. Goodbye, my friends.